Hello, everyone.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. On behalf of the mentoring, I'm delighted to welcome you all to our live event on Tuesday, the 21st January, 2025, as we kick off to celebrate National Mentoring Month. Is everybody joining from the UK or any other place? Do you want to just put it in the chat so I know where you are coming? This is a global event from Canada and other places. So I'm just wondering if you can put it in the chat box where you are from, that would be great. From UK, California, to the places. Welcome all of you Wales. Welcome everybody. Before we begin, let's briefly cover some housekeeping matters. Firstly, you're all muted by default, so we won't be disturbed by latecomers or mobile phones. You can choose to have your camera on or off because this event is being recorded and is going live on YouTube. So if you would like to prefer not to be recorded, then you should turn your camera off now. To ask questions, tap the chat option along the bottom of the Zoom panel. I may not be watching closely when I'm talking, but we will definitely answer all your questions raised at an appropriate time during the event, either by myself or by the panelists. And if any time your connection drops, don't panic. You can re-access with the same link, original Zoom link that we have shared with you. Alternatively, you can use the password and meeting ID that we have shared with you earlier. I'm Sujata Taladi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of The Mentoring, a charity registered in England and Wales. I'm also regional coordinator for South Asian Heritage Wales and an honorary Air Commodore 614 Squadron. And this event is being hosted by Ring Mentor Ring. Let me tell you a little about the Mentor Ring. Our charity, the Mentoring, started off in 2010 with humble roots and is built on those principles of diversity, respect for human rights, and promotion of equality for all. Our mission, simply put, is to ensure that no one is isolated. The mentoring strives to provide one-to-one guidance and support to people of all ages and backgrounds to overcome significant barriers to social inclusion. We want to help those individuals tackling personal challenges, be it health, well-being, education, training, or employment. If you would like to know more about what we do, then feel free to reach out. I'll share my details at the end of the event as well, but you can see it on the screen. Why is National Mentoring Month so important? This month is a time to celebrate the incredible impact of mentoring on individuals and communities. It's about honoring the mentors who selflessly dedicated their time and skills to guide others while also shining a light on the transformative power of mentoring. And why are we here today? We are here to connect, inspire, and celebrate. Whether you're a mentor, a mentee, or simply curious about the power of mentoring, this event is an opportunity to share stories, insights, and to collaborate. Now, let me introduce you to our incredible panelists. Malini Rajkumar from Canada. Malini is a CRM specialist at the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, with a rich career spanning banking, education, and community volunteering. Karen Getch from USA is the Deputy Director of Be a Mentor, a youth-serving organization based in San Francisco Bay Area. Karen is passionate about equity, leading with compassion, and building partnerships. Mavia bin Sufyan, MBE from the UK, multi-award winning director and regional coordinator for Care After Combat, supporting veterans in Welsh prisons and beyond. And finally, I hand over to our moderator, Karan Kapoor, CEO and founder of Vivid Consultancy, who is on a mission to build inclusive cultures where diversity thrives. Over to you, Karan.
Thank you so much. And thank you all so much for joining today. We're really excited to be here, especially to talk about mentoring and the benefits of mentoring, and also talk about lived experiences that everyone's going through mentoring. And we've got a great panel that's going to share some really great lived experiences from themselves. And hopefully you're going to walk away with some stuff which is more than just listening into conversations, but also what you could probably action when you walk away. So enough about me and enough conversation for myself. Marlene, I'm going to come to you first, and I would love you to share a moment or a memorable moment, shall we say, from your mentoring journey that you've had significant impact on you as a mentor. So, what's been that one significant impact for you on your mentoring journey? You might be on mute, Marlene.
Okay. So thank you, Sujata and Karan. And hello, everyone. It's very hard to like pinpoint one single moment as the most memorable moment in your life. When I look back, there are like several. So I will just share the journey as such. It all started at a very young age. I'm from India, and in India, we don't have, or we didn't have at that time, formal mentoring opportunities like you have today, especially in the UK. So from a young age, I kind of gravitated into a position of informal mentor. And the people around me kind of accepted or they kind of made me a mentor. So it was a natural process. And I recall when I was in grade six, I was the class monitor, and my role was to keep the students quiet when the teacher left the classroom. So I took this opportunity as a peer mentoring and started reading novels, especially the Enid Blyton novels and other stories, and started creating my own stories. And we were like transported to UK. We were right there solving mysteries, going on the bicycle rides in the countryside. And I used this opportunity to teach English to my students, fellow students, because their language skills was like slightly lower, so that is where my mentoring started. And I continued to be my peer mentor during my college, university days. And later on, when I joined the Reserve Bank, which is the central bank, again, I used my formal position to do informal mentoring by sharing knowledge, teaching, coaching. It's only after I moved to Canada, I started looking for opportunities where I can use formal channels to be a mentor. So when I joined the school board as a career counselor, I started a school liaison program with the YWCA to mentor grade 11 and 12 girls. These girls were matched with mentors with women in the careers they wish to pursue or to explore. So that's how it started. And for me, my most memorable moment personally was when my own daughter joined the mentorship program as a mentor.
Amazing. How did that make you feel when your daughter joined that mentoring program as a mentor?
It feels good because we are all human beings. We are like social beings. Basically, we want to be good people. We want to do the right things. So I gained more from the mentorship. Perhaps that's how I feel about the experience.
Amazing. And it's like that kind of like nurturing as well, right? You've done it, you've advocated it, you've shown the purpose of it and the benefits, and then that's gone to your daughter, which is really, really sweet to hear. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm always curious about the mentee lens as well. So Shazata, maybe that's something which you can come across with. So from a mentee lens, what's that memorable moment for yourself that you've seen?
Well, I've mentored many individuals, but today I would like to share a story of a young person who arrived from Afghanistan to the UK. And she was desperately looking for a job. She came to us and she felt that because she was not fluent in English, it would be impossible for her to secure a job. At one point, she had lost all hope, felt disappointed in herself, and with low confidence. I made an appointment with her. I sat down with her to understand why she wasn't getting a job. As I got to know, I started speaking to her. We had a good conversation, and she told me she's fluent in Dari and Pashto languages. That those are the languages spoken in Afghanistan. So to me, I found the ability to speak other languages are very valuable assets. And you don't believe she came at the right time when we were doing minority ethnic communities health fair, when we were doing leaflets and we wanted them to be translated in other languages. So I allocated, her a couple of leaflets to translate, and she did it with passion. So I thought, normally anybody would ask such kind of individuals to go straight for improving their English languages. So what I did, instead of taking her the usual route, I explained to her that her fluency in other languages like Pashto and Dari are equally important skills. It took me a time for me to convince her. But this perspective of her focusing on her strengths rather than her perceived weaknesses instantly gave her so much confidence and new hope. I connected her with opportunities to train as a translator and interpreter, opening up new paths for her. So as she was attending, she met other people, she increased her social contacts. And while she was undergoing training to be an interpreter, she also started attending English speaking lessons. I don't know how many of you know, we call it ESOL classes, English for speakers of other languages. So as her English improved, so did her confidence. She began to see herself not just as someone seeking a job, but as a skilled professional with valuable contributions to offer. And she got some more jobs through her contacts. So she came one day, she visited me, and she shared with me something very emotional. And she said, this mentorship not only gave me direction, but also made me feel like I belonged. She said, it changed the way I see myself and my future. This experience reinforced the power of recognizing and nurturing the individual's strengths. It reminded me that even in the face of adversity, there's always a way forward, and that empowering individuals to unlock their potential is very important. That's my experience with mentee.
And that's a really beautiful story because actually you're showing what mentorship does, right? You're making a mentee gain the confidence and also directing them in their skills and their strengths that they can move forward with. So actually that story is actually really relatable for anyone that's a mentee as well as a mentor, because actually that's the benefits of doing mentorship, because that is what you're trying to do. You're trying to get them to look at their strengths and move forward. So really appreciate you sharing that story. Thank you. So then, because we always talk about mentoring and mentorship relationships, it can be quite difficult at times, and also can be quite challenging if it needs be. But there are some difficult conversations that happen within mentorships as well. And sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, so please let me know if I do pronounce the name wrong. But Marvia, could you let me know where you've maybe faced maybe some difficult conversations or challenges when mentoring relationships?
Thank you. Thank you, Sujata. Thank you, Karan. First of all, inviting me, and I know Sujata does some amazing work in Wales, and not just within Wales, but the South Asian Trust as well across England and Wales. So well done for holding the light for South Asian ethnic minority communities. So when it comes to navigating difficult conversations in mentoring, I believe in being open, honest, and empathetic. I always try and listen first and really understand whether the person is coming from, especially when there's a challenge to address. I think it's important to create an environment where the mentee feels comfortable being vulnerable and sharing their thoughts without fear of judgment. If things get tough, I keep the conversation focused on finding solutions and learning from their experience. I try not to get caught up in the emotional side of things, but instead focus on how we can move forward. I remind my mentees that it is okay to struggle and that setbacks are just part of the journey. For me, the most important thing is to maintain trust and keep the relationship supportive. Difficult conversations often lead to the most growth, and I see these moments as opportunities for both of us to learn and develop, the mentor and the mentee.
Amazing story. And that is exactly what it is, right? It's actually nurturing those conversations and also those challenging conversations so you get the best product from a mentoring relationship. So
Definitely.
thank you so much for sharing that story. And then Karen, if I come to you and then ask what's kind of like the effective strategies you use to establish trust, because I think based on what you've just said as well, like building that relationship is building of trust, to build those strong relationships with your mentee.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So to talk a little bit about building trust and relationships, so much of the work that we do is about supporting the mentee. So Be a Mentor works just with you, but this is applicable to any mentee relationship. So building that relationship, building that trust, so that you can get at whatever the core issues are, so you can share and be vulnerable and actually connect with a young person. So some of the things that we train are showing up consistently, sometimes just being there again and again and again when a young person expects you to bail on them because adults are maybe not consistent in their lives, but having somebody continue to show up helps to build that trust. Validating the experience that they're having instead of trying to tell them what you see, that forcing your perspective on them, validating and listening to what their perspective is really helps them to feel that they're valued, that their perspective is important. I also think that so many of the young people that we work with they know what they want. They know what they want to do, but they don't necessarily know how to get there. And so helping them talk through a situation before it becomes a problem, before it's a big challenge, really helps them to see another perspective. Asking them, well, if you do that, what would happen with your parent or your teacher, or how would someone else respond to that? Helps them to think beyond just I want to do this thing, but actually think about it from a wider perspective. And so asking questions helps them to think through it rather than telling them the answer. And because now they're building skills to think about a process and how they can relate that to other challenges that are happening in their lives, rather than just receiving an answer that might help them navigate this challenge rather than navigating future challenges as well.
Yeah, I totally agree because even when I think about from a psychologically safe space and an inclusive mindset, like I definitely feel that's what you need to build is that foundation. I've also, and building on what you've just said, I also feel like having a contract between a mentee and a mentor is a really important thing. Because I think that's also setting expectations between one another. And I think that also has a foundation of trust in there because then you are gaining something from that individual to build on whatever you're learning from. So I definitely feel that's a really important thing. Thank you so much for sharing. And from your experience, then, what would you say when you've been mentored or whatever? What's that one thing that you would say that trust is what you've left with?
Trust is not a one-way street and it's not consistent. So I personally mentor a 15-year-old girl, and she is growing and changing all the time. And so sometimes, most of the time, we get along fantastic, but sometimes something is happening in her life that makes her pull away because she's afraid to bring it up to me, or she's nervous about it, or there's so many other things that she doesn't feel comfortable talking to one more person about something. And so not taking that personally, not recognizing that this is what's happening with her, and that if I just keep showing up and continue to trust her, that she's going to also trust me.
Sure, and that's such a beautiful example. Thank you. And it actually leads really nicely to our next part anyway, because we're talking about career development. And I personally have used mentoring all the time in my career. I think it's been one of the most impactful thing I've done in my career is getting a mentor and being a mentee, and also doing it the other way around as well, being a mentor and then having mentees as well. And Mavia, if I come back to you for this question, can you share a time when mentoring played a critical role in your career development and that of your mentee as well? Not just your mentee, but you as well as an individual. Could you share an example or a time of that?
Yeah, thank you, Karen. For me, I mean, I feel like in my career, be that professional or non-exec public appointment role, I've had a meteoric rise, and that's predominantly down to mentoring. I think for me, it's been about those that have supported me along that journey have given me that push and the energy to really progress far faster than some of my colleagues. Mentorship has played a crucial role in both my career development and in the growth of my mentees. Excuse me. One experience that stands out was early in my career when I was trying to navigate the complexities of working in public service. At the time, I was unsure about how to effectively balance the demands of my work while staying true to some of my values of cohesion and diversity. I was fortunate to have a mentor who had vast experience of both public service and leadership. They took the time to listen, provide valuable insight, and help me see the bigger picture. It was through their guidance I was able to gain confidence in making decisions and build a clear path forward. On the other hand, I've had the privilege of mentoring individuals who are facing challenges in stepping up to leadership roles, and especially those from ethnic minority communities. One particular mentee struggled with self-doubt and imposter syndrome, despite having the skills and qualifications needed to succeed. Through our discussions, we worked together to identify and address the root causes of their insecurities, with encouragement, feedback, and opportunities to take on small leadership tasks. My mentee began to develop more confidence in their abilities. Watching them grow, taking on more responsibility, and eventually thriving in their leadership role was incredibly rewarding. And finally, mentorship for me is about nurturing potential, providing guidance, and empowering those to believe in themselves. Whether as a mentee or as a mentor, the impact of those relationships have been pivotal in shaping both my career and the career of those I've had the honor to mentor.
Amazing, and thank you for giving that example. And I definitely relate to imposter syndrome because I think we all go through some form of imposter syndrome at times. And then also sharing that from that lens. From your experience then, and if I ask you directly from your perspective, what is that one critical thing that's played, if you could tell people to walk away with that one critical thing that's walked away from your career for being mentored?
Um, I think trying to find a mentor is always difficult. So, you don't really know where to start. And I remembered some 2, 3 decades ago when I started that, the social media wasn't as it is now. You didn't have Twitter, LinkedIn, it wasn't, you couldn't approach people. Now you have a plethora of organizations, mentoring opportunities, charities that provide some sort of leadership programs to diverse communities that they weren't around. So I think it's about grabbing those opportunities that are available, but also networking. And one of the things that I did early off was I, I, I immersed myself in all different health, education, criminal justice. And what was funny was, especially within Wales and even in the City of London, is that the same people sit on the same leadership positions. So you might see a chief exec or non-exec director of a chair or public body in one position, and then in the next day you'll see him in another position, and then another position, or the Law Lieutenant, the High Sheriff, the Commissioner, the MP, the Assembly member. So they're all sort of interlinked in some way. So it's about making sure that you're present in those rooms to learn from their experience. And most people are happy to share their ideas, mentor, and support you. And over time, you learn the experience and build that confidence. And I always say to people, the quicker you start, the easier it gets, because initially you might have imposter syndrome, but we're a lot more diverse compared to what it was when I was starting off. You look at the Prime Minister, having an ethnic minority Prime Minister, leaders, there's a lot more diversity even within our public bodies, but we can be doing more. And I think there's opportunities, and what I'll do is I'll share them in the link. There's current opportunities for Pathway to Board. If you want to join a board within Wales, there's programs that are free of cost that provide mentoring. There's a Commonwealth, the Queen's Commonwealth Trust, providing mentorship for across the world, not just within the UK. But there's many opportunities, and I'm more than happy to connect with people to share those, because we try and share as many opportunities as and when they come.
Oh, thank you so much for that answer. And thank you so much for offering your support and help as well. Appreciate that massively. Thank you. And then actually goes really well to the next part of it as well. We're talking about, and this is a topic, it's impossible that we have a panel without me talking about D&I in any way or form. And I love the fact that we are opening more mindsets up. We are making it more diverse. We are making it more inclusive. But how do we ensure mentoring practices are inclusive and supportive for diverse backgrounds and perspectives? Karen, I would love to ask you that question. So from your lens, how do you feel we can do that?
That's a really good question. And we talk a lot internally about how do we reach more diverse mentors, because our mentees in particular are coming out to us from such a variety of backgrounds that it's really important that we're bringing mentors to the table that also have diverse backgrounds. And so we reach out specifically to things like queer centers or Latina business groups, Black alumni associations. So trying to find places where people that of diverse backgrounds are already meeting to connect with them. Sometimes we don't have as much diversity available in the mentors, and getting mentors is always a challenge, trying to find people who are willing to step up and be a mentor. There's always more need than there are volunteer mentors available. So we really focus on training our mentors to connect with somebody who is maybe coming from a different culture or background or experience than them. And part of that training is, we call it a trauma-informed training, but it's about the strength-based work that Sujatha was talking about in the beginning. It's about being non-judgmental, recognizing your own biases. We talk a lot about triggers and trauma and how that changes the way we think and the way we interact with the world. And so that we can be more understanding when a young person is triggered by something. Instead of blaming them for what's happening, we can be understanding and help them take a step back from the situation and recognize what their strengths are in order to approach that challenge.
Amazing, thank you. And I think I totally agree. And I think we also, like, that's really good ways of getting practices to get more people in to support. I also feel like we need to be much more open in accepting like differences of people as well. So when we're thinking about different mindsets, there's diversity. When we're thinking about diverse mindsets, is how do we be inclusive of their mindsets and we make them feel like they belong? Because we shouldn't bring any of our biases when they come into conversation. So it's really training our brains to make sure we're not biased in giving our supportive feedback, but actually listening to the individual and then tailoring that advice to that individual, to be really mindful and really careful for that. So I appreciate that example. Thank you. And then Marlene, if I come to you and then ask you, because I think, you know, you shared your story about coming from India, then going to Canada and so forth, and not being available and not having mentoring at that space in India. Can you share an example of how inclusive mentorship has led to a success story in your eyes? So how has being inclusive had a successful mentoring story for you?
To go back to my own personal self, I've been raised by very progressive parents. So in our house, we had people from different socio-economical, cultural backgrounds. We had all kinds of animals as pets, and they were like part of our family. So I grew up in that mindset. And because of that, I don't have a norm which I think is standard, and someone other than that is different, and I need to include them. So for me, everyone is like, they may be a little different than you, but they're all human beings. So I don't particularly think that I should have a specific policy to include someone or exclude someone, because everyone is the same to me in some ways. So I find it very hard to have like specific policies. But to answer your question, I work right now as a CRM specialist for Canadian National Institute for the Blind. And we also have not just people with vision loss, we have even people who are deaf and blind. So we have a wide spectrum of people with disabilities or challenges. So the thing that I work as a mentor with them is I treat them as like one of us, not someone with a disability, and not to be challenged when I talk to them or wonder like what language to use, what is politically correct, whether I can use words like, do you see? It's okay to use those words, not to worry that, oh, they don't have vision, so I should not use such words. So basically, to treat them like normal people, have normal conversations is what I do. And specifically to make everything inclusive, as a mentor, I build resources that are 100% accessible to people with different kinds of disabilities and provide accommodations. For example, if I create a document, a training manual, I ensure that the JAWS commands, the computer can read the language so that even if they have vision loss, they're able to access those documents. Or if they have, say, hearing loss, then I ensure that it is accessible to people. So creating accessibilities and accommodation is what I do as a role in my role as a mentor at the CNIB. And I also worked for the Vancouver School Board as a career advisor. So we had people of all ages, not just high school students of a certain age group, but I also worked with adults who didn't complete their high school. So we had a wide spectrum. So we dealt with everyone, tried to be inclusive. And to give you one specific example, we noticed that a particular group of students from an ethnic minority, they were immigrants, they're from an ethnic minority with scant English language skills, they were self-isolating themselves. They kind of felt that they were being targeted and isolated. But in reality, a lot of it was self-imposed, self-isolation. So I started a formal club called the Conversational Club, just to include them in conversations, make them feel part of the society, whatever they are, to improve their self-confidence. The first thing we need to do as a mentor is to make them aware of their own self and let them know that it's okay to be what they are. It's all right. You don't have to change. You don't have to fit in or completely change your outlook. So that's what we did with the Formal Conversation Club. But like all formal clubs, sometimes they run for a certain period of time, or sometimes they just don't run for various reasons. So people dropped out, that didn't work out. But I strongly felt that we need to improve the confidence of this particular group. So what I started was morning tea. Before the classes started, I would encourage this particular group to come and have tea with me. So we did have those conversations, the great conversations about self-confident, being a little different. But this was accomplished again unofficially. And eventually they started seeing themselves as part of the school. They got more engaged with the school activities. They were proud of who they were. They started sharing little things about themselves, started sharing food. So there was more of integration that way.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I like what you said about the processes and so forth. I think that's a really great way of making sure you're being inclusive. I also think inclusive language is so important. So actually, when you're asking someone of a diverse background, what is the kind of thing they wish to be, what they're comfortable hearing, I think that's super important. So I think always check in with the individual to see this is the language I'm using. Is it okay? Or if you want me to change it, they should be advising you whether they should advise you whether that's right or wrong. But no, appreciate the answer. I think that's a really great way of actually showcasing people that, we can make inclusive success stories from this and really help our diverse backgrounds for sure to be even more successful than what they already are. So appreciate that. Thank you so much, everyone. And I think like it's been great conversation. I think it's been great kind of like some segues of understanding what your experience and your lived experiences are. I'd like to open the floor to everyone else to ask us any questions. So if anyone's got a question for the panel, here's your opportunity to ask us, including myself. If there's any question you wish to ask, please ask. We've got a few questions that we can go through for all of us. So who would like to ask a question to the panel? I can't see the chat, so if anyone's got a question, then please let us know. Go for it, Maxine. I can see your hands up.
Sorry, it took me a second there to unmute myself.
That's okay.
Really wonderful listening to all the speakers. I just want to say, I just want to ask rather, in your experience, what do you think has been the most successful to the mentor-mentee relationship? Do I address that to anybody in
Yes,
particular?
please. If there's anyone in particular you're looking for an answer from.
Okay, Malini, I'm really intrigued because you were talking about the conversational club, so I really like that actually. So Malini, if you don't mind answering.
So what exactly are you looking for? Can you just repeat?
What is the key to a successful mentor-mentee relationship? What do you feel is the key to that?
Is trust. That's the most important thing. The mentor should gain the trust of the mentee and vice versa. Because I'm focusing more on the mentor's role. So a
Sure.
mentor, to be successful, has to gain the trust of the mentee. And personally, I feel that this can be done broadly in two ways. One is being good in what you do. If you're a career mentor, you need to be good in your job. If you are a social mentor, you need to be good in certain things like values, or you need to have that charisma or personality or the aura to gain the trust of the mentee. And the other way of doing it is not only standing tall, but making the mentee feel that you are as vulnerable. You also have problems. You're also as human as they are. So share certain things about yourself, your own personal challenges, your weaknesses, your strength, and that way you build a relationship or bond. So trust, and the following trust is building relationships.
Thank you. That's brilliant.
Would anyone else in the panel like to add anything on top of that? Go for it.
Thank you, Maxine. Thank you for that question. For me, and this is one of the things that I try and do as a mentor for my mentees, is to open doors. I think it's all well and good having a conversation and motivating people, but it's about opening doors for them, pulling them along with you, um, bringing them to networking events, connecting them. So if I've got a mentee who, for example, wants to become a lecturer and is interested in education. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell him about the different university programs that are out there. I'm going to connect him with a professor or a lecturer, invite him to one of my livery company, which is the Wishful Company of Educators. But what I'm going to try and do is open doors for them. So I'm not just going to, what I want to do is build their confidence, brilliant, but I also want to make sure that they're in the room where decisions are made, and that way they can progress far quicker. Give them the opportunity to network with leaders. And I think for me, that's the way that I've been able to grow far quicker than most people. And I think that's what I try and install in my fellow mentors and those that I mentee, that when we look into support individuals, especially from diverse communities, is open the doors for them, bring them along, connect them with people. I think it's all well and good that we have a conversation with our mentee, but it's also about making sure that my colleagues, my friends, the ministers, the diplomats, the ambassadors, they get to meet them as well, because that one meeting might open doors for them as well. So yeah, for me, it's about connecting them to my contacts, and then obviously then having a ripple effect that with other people. Thank you. Thanks, Karen.
Amazing. Thank you so much. We have time for one more question. Any other questions that anyone might
Yeah,
have?
I would like,
We
like,
have it. We
hello.
have it on the chat.
Go for it, David. Sorry, I think David's about to talk.
I hear what you're saying, right? But why don't we try in the future? Why don't we have open doors? So if the people want to come into a session, into a session to learn more about their like you said about bring people in, and if they want to chat, come in and have a chat with people.
To create like an open door policy.
Yeah.
Yes, to answer that question, can I say something?
Yeah, please
Karen?
do.
We do have walk-in mentoring sessions every week at our coffee mornings. We encourage people to come. We used to have a walk-in mentoring session every Friday. Post-pandemic, we have just reduced it to only Tuesday. So people can come, have a chat, because I don't think people will wait for an appointment if they are desperately in need of a mentor. They want to walk in and find somebody to talk to. So we have an open door policy. They can come, walk in on a Tuesday and talk to us, but preferably we expect them to have an appointment or ring that they are coming. That's all, but they can walk in. It's a walk-in appointment every Tuesday at our premises. Thank you.
I know we have covered money, but I didn't know how it works. That's why I got that. I would love that question.
No, great. Thank you, David, for that question. Awesome. Any other questions? If you've got any other questions, sorry, we run out. Oh, go on, Sujatha, you were about to say something.
It's here. It's in the chat. Somebody asked if we mentor people outside of the UK. So though we are based in Cardiff and Wales, we do e-mentor them. We have provision wherein we can mentor them online. So we are open to any kind of mentoring, virtual mentoring. So we are happy to do that. I hope I answered your question, Suki. And where are you from? Can I ask which part of the country you're looking at for mentoring? Sometimes it's the time difference, you see. So that's the only thing we are concerned about. But otherwise, we are happy to mentor anybody from anywhere. We do get from Australia. We've got mentees from India, Canada, and US.
Brilliant. Thank you. Oh, go on, sorry.
There are mentoring programs all over the world. So if the mentor ring doesn't fit for you for some reason, I know that there's something that might be closer to you that you could reach out to. Be mentors in the US. There's a national mentoring conference coming up this month that a lot of US based organizations go to. So they're and then I've heard from organizations working in Africa, all over the UK, Australia, excuse me. And I'm sure many places I've not heard of as well.
I remember attending one of the conferences 10 years ago. We can't afford to come now, but I wanted to see, because we didn't have mentoring programs in the UK at that time. I wanted to explore what's happening in the US. So I attended and I made a lot of contacts and got to learn more about the mentoring programs in the universities and schools. So they create budding programs. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Thank you so much, everyone in the panel. If you've got any other questions, please do add them in or send them to Sujatha and the team, and we're more than happy to answer them. But I want to thank everyone on the panel. Thank you so much for attending. I feel like you've definitely inspired everyone. You've equipped our attendees with practical insights and tools from your experiences as mentors and as mentees. I'm sharing that too. And you really have sparked a meaningful conversation and the power of mentorship. So thank you so much for all your time and your support. I'm now going to pass it back to Sujatha just to explain a bit more about the mentoring ring and what's happening. So over to you. Sorry, the mentoring. I keep saying mentoring ring. The mentor.
Thank you. It's been over 15 years since we set up. I mentioned that the mentoring was set up in 2010. So we are based in Cardiff, Wales, but post-pandemic, we have been receiving referrals inundated from all over, especially from England. So we took this opportunity to expand our services. Why not? People need us. So we look through 2025, the mentoring is focused on broadening its impact and continuing to empower individuals through mentoring and mentoring support. So we would like to focus on reaching new communities in and around the areas of Bexley and Dartford, because we got many referrals there, while deepening our engagement with existing members in Wales and surrounding areas through activities such as mentoring activities, yoga, and attending and organizing local events. We not only continue to organize annual health fair in Wales, but also in England. Our first one is in Dartford next month in February on 25th, Tuesday the 25th, in partnership with Dartford County Council. If the details are on the screen, and if you are living in and around the area, please attend our event, or you can forward it to all those who are living there. It's easier for them to attend. We're excited to continue to strengthen our collaborations with community organizations, schools, county voluntary councils like BBSC, Dartford Council, community interest companies. I think somebody is attending today, I'm not sure, and local businesses in Wales as well as in England. We look forward to organize and take part in cultural events related to 60 years of the formation of London Borough of Bexley this year, to honor the area's rich heritage and promote social cohesion, and not forgetting our annual South Asian Heritage celebrations in England and Wales. The details are on the screen now. You can see what we're doing. So, and also now I would like to share some news with all of you. We are delighted to share with you that Karan Kapoor and Vishni, is Vishni here? Can you raise your hand, please? We'll spotlight you. Vishni is a communications consultant and has been working in the non-profit sector for over 25 years. Thank you, Karan and Vishni. They will soon be on the Mentoring's advisory panel. We look forward to what 2025 has in store for the mentoring and cannot wait to connect with all of you. Is Vishni here? Vishni here?
I believe she is.
Is she there?
Yeah, I can see her.
Yeah.
Hi, Vishni. Welcome.
Thank you.
Do you want to say something?
No,
I
just
put
really
you on the spot.
excited. Thanks for the event today, and we're just trying to learn more about the mentoring and how we can help.
Thank you. What I would like to do is I would like to do a group photograph. Shall we all, in case you're there, we can put the video on. So we will take a group photograph before we wrap up the session. Thank you, everyone. As we wrap up this inspiring session, I want to leave you with an invitation and a reminder. If you've been moved by the stories shared today and feel you have skills and passion to guide others, we encourage you to become a mentor. Your experience could truly transform someone's life. Similarly, if you're seeking a guidance to achieve your goals, we are here to help connect you with the right mentor. Our contact details are on the screen now, so please contact us via social media, email, or chat. We would love to hear from you. Thank you all for joining us today. We look forward to working together to make mentoring a cornerstone of growth and success for all. Thank you all our panel members for sharing your stories and insights. This event reminds us of the incredible power of mentoring. To all our mentors, your guidance shapes futures, and to all our mentees,